I will introduce myself. I am Brenda Sheldon. I am a Rotarian from the Palmer Rotary Club in District 5010, that is in Alaska. Currently, I am an assistant governor. I'm the district RILA chair. I'm an advisor to one of our local Interact clubs, and I am in the DG line. I am a DGND, and I'm so very excited about that. Professionally, I hold a Doctor of Physical Therapy degree, and I'm going to present to you today on public image. Thank you. So for the next 60 minutes, I'm going to explain why public image is one of the core courses. The topics are located on page 28 and 29 of the workbook you have. So let's begin. Rotary has, pretty significant issues around public image, from people not having any idea what Rotary is to having kind of a skewed idea of who we are in our community. Now, there's some amazing clubs out there that are well known for what they do, and they've got a strong public image. But we need everybody to get to that place of positive reputation and have an accurate image in their community. Rotary International has the tools, and Pacific Northwest Pets has the educators, mentors, and peers to help you build on your club's public image. So here are our learning objectives. What is brand? Why is the Rotary brand important? How can a positive brand strengthen a club? What are the Rotary marks and how are they used? What is the People of Action campaign? And how brand supports the foundation and membership. Now, there is a bit of lecture to this, but you are going to have some time to work together, to talk and share some things. Facilitation. This is going to help you build on the classes you take in February also. So this is kind of laying the groundwork. Also, this is going to help you draft your club enhancement plan. Let's get started with our first learning objective, and that is, what is brand? Well, the history of brand, or branding, just as you might think, came from farmers identifying their cattle. But then that word moved into industry, and companies started using it as they created relationships between their products and the public. And a brand can encompass many things, many of which are designed to reach out to you on a personal level, create relationships, and build trust. Now, remember, we could be talking about a business or an organization when we're building a brand. So consider your club when we look at the characteristics of brand. There's vision. Has your club done some visioning? Have you implemented some of that? Does your club have a personality? Are you the club that meets in a certain location or does a specific fundraiser and has been doing so for a long time? And the community identifies you with that. Does your club have a specific commitment? Is it youth? Is it youth exchange? Is it Interact or Rotaract? Brand encompasses many, many things. It's a story, though, of who an organization is and what they do. It outlines differences, yet it highlights what's really unique and worthwhile in a club. Now, what you see on this slide are logos. A logo, it's an image. That's it. It's just an image or a symbol, but it identifies that business or organization. And I know you recognize these three. We've got Nike, we've got Disney, and we've got Apple. Every day, you're going to walk around your home, you're going to drive down the street, and you're going to see businesses. And you're going to recognize them because of their logo. But that logo starts you thinking about them. And that's when brand takes over. And that's the difference between a logo and brand. A brand is a person's perception of a product, a service, an experience, or an organization. Some call it a gut feeling that you have when you see that company's logo. It's an emotion that you feel, it's a relationship you've built, and it's a trust that's been reached. It's very powerful, it's very impactful. So consider a time when getting your oil changed, or maybe you bought a watch, did you look for a specific brand? And why did you feel that way? Why did you seek out that brand? And how did you feel when you were at the store and they didn't have your brand in stock? What was that feeling? Okay, let's look at Nike again. When you see this logo, do you just see the switch? Swish. Or do you think about their athletic wear? Do you think about the ads where the athletes are working really hard, they're sweating, they're reaching excellence? Did you hear the words, just do it? Did they pop into your head? Most likely. Nike has created a brand that elicits images and emotions that you see when you look at the logo. So let me give you another example. Have you seen a beer commercial that has Clydesdale horses? Perhaps it was when the horses played football. How about when it included a puppy that had maybe made friends with one of the horses? If you're thinking of Budweiser, if you're thinking of the Budweiser horses and logo, how did those commercials make you feel? How does that logo make you feel? So right now, we're going to launch a poll. And what we want you to do is answer the following question. Does Rotary have a strong brand with the public? I'll repeat that. Does Rotary have a strong brand with the public? 1 is weak. 5 is strong. So what do you think? Let's take a look here. Nobody said 1. We've got about 15% of the people said 2. Middle of the road here, about 37 people scored a 3. Getting a little stronger now. We had about 30% of the people say 4. And looks like about 19 said we're 5 or we're strong. Now, we're going to talk a little bit more about this, but for now, I'm going to stop the sharing. And we'll go back to our presentation. I'm going to ask you some questions now. Be thinking about your club and what a brand does. So remember, a brand creates a relationship between you and the public. It's a promise, it's an expectation. Do your local interactors and Rotaractors have an accurate picture of what Rotary is? Is it somewhat common for people in your area to think that Rotary is a society of old, rich white men? And that's what all of the clubs in the area are. Is that what is said or thought in your club? We often view Rotary as service organizations, but you know, it's really more than that. It's a group that forms friendships and relationships. And is that in your club? Because it's through these relationships, this is how we get our service done. And finally, the last question, is your logo prominent anywhere in your community? Right outside your meeting room? Is it on a community sign as people move about your community? Be thinking about those things. A brand, again, is who an organization is and what they do. You've seen the logos, but now we're talking about brand. So let's talk a little bit more and let's use the chat box. What I want you to do now is open up your chat, put in your first and last name so I can talk with you a little bit. And I want you to give me one word that describes Rotary's brand. One word that describes Rotary's brand. Again, first and last name, please. I'm going to unshare or stop share. And I'm going to open up my chat box so I can see some of the things that all of you are putting in. All right, John, I'm going to start with you. John, why did you put in the word polio?
Because that's the most amazing thing that I know about Rotary. It has with other organizations come close to eliminating polio. Absolutely amazing. And I know that people are at least somewhat familiar with it, if only because it's tagged on to the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, which they may also have heard of.
Agreed. Agreed. I'm going to ask for Michael to explain integrity, because I see the word integrity. Or is that Michelle?
It's Michelle.
I'm sorry. It's a really small font on my laptop. I
Okay, I have
for
one
not
L.
reading that.
I only have one L, so that's tricky. Just that it's honest and it's good moral values and trustworthy.
Very succinct. Thank you. Ah, I see one that I like. Colleen, you wrote in community projects. You want to explain that?
We have a lot of ongoing fundraisers in the community. And I think for here, we've built buildings, pools, water parks, suspension bridges, and we have a live TV auction. So I think when people hear Rotary, they connect it to community projects.
You used a key word there, because the next person I was going to call on was Charles, because he's got in quotations connected. So talk a little bit about that, Charles.
Well, I think the symbol, you know, the cog, it's like connecting to things, and we do connect to the community and basically world events, right? So that's why I use connected.
Agreed. Agreed. I like the word, and is it initiator? That Gary, is that what you put? Again, it's, my font is really small. Is that initiator? What is that?
Yes, it is.
And what brings that word to mind when I ask the question, one word that describes Rotary's brand?
Well, in any community that Rotary is involved with, they see something that they need to do. They see something the community needs. And so they initiate a plan to put that into, put forth and make it happen.
Absolutely. Okay, now here's the next exercise that we are going to do. I'm going to ask, and again, this is all just, we're going to talk about this in a very positive way, but somebody in that last survey that just scored Rotary a 2, would you hold up your hand? If you scored Rotary a 2, again, nothing bad there. I'm looking around, I'm looking. Alphonse, did you have your hand up? You gotta unmute.
Oh, John Scarborough's got his name up.
Okay, anybody? Okay, John, go right ahead. Why did you give Rotary a 2?
We don't do, I don't think we, Rotary, does a good job of communicating to the wider public who we are, what we do, and why we have, we often refer to ourselves as Rotary, the great organization. And it seems a little bit tilted toward talking ourselves into it. We are a great organization. I agree. And I think, but there's so much more we could do.
So somebody who scored Rotary a 5. Let's see a hand. I want to talk to somebody that scored us a 5. I'm looking. Where's a hand?
Well, I believe that Rotary as a organization, I've been involved with Kinsman, Active 2030, Wilco as different positions in those organizations, and all these groups tend to go up and down throughout history, their histories, being successful, not successful, have memberships, not have memberships, and right now I think we're in a very difficult time for organizations and volunteering. But Rotary has kept itself fairly strong. We're losing some people, like any organization, but I think because of its polio, because of its international influence in many countries, not just North America, but in so many other countries, I think we have a strong image. Are there people out there that don't know us? Absolutely. I don't know anything about what's happening in Egypt either, but who knows, you know? So I know where it is.
Well, thank you for that. Thank you for those positive words, and thank you for sharing. I appreciate all of you and being willing to share with each other. What you're looking at right now is a screen that has amazing people that will share with each other and can learn from each other. Let's go ahead and move on now. Let's talk a little bit about the Siegel and Gale study that was done in 2011. They found that with over 100 different logos used by Rotarians, when they did that survey, it really confused people. Because remember, they surveyed the public and they said, you know, you're looking at all these logos, what do you think? The people it confused them. And secondly, if they did recognize that it was a Rotary logo, they really didn't know what Rotary did. They just couldn't pinpoint it. And so we need to do 2 things as Rotarians, and you need to do this as an incoming president. You need to use a consistent logo, and you need to communicate your brand into your community. So let's go back to Nike. Do they change or modify their logo? How about Apple or Disney? And the answer is no, they don't. To strengthen their brand, they consistently use the same logo that people can identify, that the public can identify. They might add products, they might add new service lines, but they don't change their logo. So here you go. Here is Rotary's logo, and we need to use this consistently in our community. We want our community to see the same things that our members do, because this is the building block of our brand right here. There's so much, and you guys just heard, there's a lot of other organizations out there. There's significant competition worldwide, as well as in your own communities. And for example, you've got an organization like Habitat for Humanity. They do one thing and they do it really, really well. But Rotary, we've got 5 avenues of service. We've got 7 areas of focus. And even those have multiple paths. We have youth exchange. We have district projects. We have international projects. We have local projects. You use your logo consistently, and even though you're doing many diverse things, your community is going to recognize that they belong to you using your logo consistently. Now, here are some examples if you went into the Rotary Brand Center that you would be able to utilize. And what I mean by utilized is copy and paste. We've got the foundation, Interact, which I just used this morning, by the way, Rotaract, and youth exchange. There's another area in Brand Center where you can go in and you can create, any member, now don't get me wrong here, any member of your club can go in and create this consistent logo, one for your club and one for your district. If you Google Rotary Identity at a Glance, you're going to find another really valuable tool. And just by looking at it, you can see where it talks you through using the consistent font and color and logo. So when you and your public image team are getting to work on something, you don't need to reinvent the wheel. Everything has been done for you in Brand Center. You don't need to pay anybody. You just need to go in, and it is, I guarantee, user-friendly for you to do. So let's go back to my conversation that I was having with you about doing different things. Unlike Habitat for Humanity, we do different things. So let's say your club does 5 service projects a year. Let's say you're going to do something for the food bank. You're going to do something with the school district. You're going to do something with a homeless shelter. You're going to do something with a library. Any and all of those things can be identified by using a consistent logo. So even though your club just did all these different things, and you might think to yourself, how in the world can we let the community know that this is what we do? Well, right there is a consistent logo that you would use each time you do it so that they can identify it with your club. And how do you do this again? What you're going to do is you're going to go into My Rotary. And when you're in My Rotary, you do have to have an account. You're going to hover over News and Media, and in that drop down, you're going to see Brand Center. You're going to find all of this. And if you are in Brand Center and you click on logos, here's what you're going to see. Upper right, there's your Rotary logo right there. Go in, copy, paste it. In the center, there's your template right there. Go in and make your club and your district's logo for any and all of the things that you're doing. Go in there and pick up your program logos for Interact and Rotaract. And then down there in the lower left, you're going to see where it has the foundation logo. So again, copying, pasting, going in, creating all of these things and saving them. No need to recreate the wheel. We've got some more talking to do about brand right now. So we're going to put you into some breakout rooms. And we're going to ask you to discuss how a stronger brand strengthens a club. Now, each of your groups, we're going to ask you to assign a scribe, and that scribe is going to come back and they're going to share the important points that you guys talked about.
Okay, Brenda, everybody's back.
Welcome back, everybody. I hope you had a great conversation like our breakout room did. If I could have the scribes just hold up their hand, please. And I got one. I see one there. Is that Maria? Please go on ahead and share what your group discussed.
Okay, I had a wonderful group from around the region. So couple things we talked about in just summary was an opportunity to get under kind of the bigger Rotary umbrella. We talked about the multiple clubs that are within our own cities or our own regions, and how do you start to kind of coalesce as a group around that. So not forgetting the other clubs that are just maybe right across the street or right across the neighborhood from you, and making sure if there are ways that you could connect together. We had some in our group who they have a trust together where they're actually giving money away as 3 clubs. Others like myself, we don't talk to the other clubs in our city. So maybe we should think about how can we jointly get under the same umbrella to maybe amplify our message. We talked about in doing that, pooling our money to solve a community-wide problem. And we've had some success with folks in our group who've done that, and they actually got New York Times recognition, but the focus was on Rotary got the recognition, not a specific club, and that should be deemed as amazing, not a bummer that your club didn't get recognized, but an amazing that Rotary got the recognition. And then also we talked about the focus of your comment on what should your brand be, of what is it? It's focusing on maybe one thing. We had a club who said they focus on food insecurity or something so specific that people could become aware that that's what you're doing. And then I loved this one because it's one that we haven't worked on, but one of our Rotarians in the group did. But really form an honest and authentic relationship with a reporter. Know the reporters in your community because that could help amplify your message. So that was a bit from our group. Back to you.
I love the points you made about the authentic relationship. Those are important. And the other about forming groups. There's power in numbers. There's power in numbers. Okay, let's have another scribe hold up their hand.
We had a great group, and we were just sort of really getting into it when our screen went blank, and off we went. At the very end, I think we touched on something that is really important, and Catherine brought it up from Lake Country, is that we really need to work on diversity, inclusion, and equity. And I think really that is the crutch of it, and that our brand cannot be seen as a white man, older. We really have to work on that. Another comment was talking about it's difficult in this day and age to do broad stroke marketing and branding because everyone has short attention spans, and people, are interested in, water or latrines or one thing. So it's hard to know how to market, do it broadly or to just, as the last person said, go to specific causes. We touched on social media, trying to use that to attract younger people. I think that's been kicked around a lot. We tend to use Facebook, which is not what the younger people associate. They're not looking at that brand. And talked about the use of pop-ups and banners, and that in most of the communities, the people that in our group, we have lots of signage up. It may not all be matching, but there is lots of Rotary wheels in our communities. Yeah. So.
Thank you for that. You guys had a very good conversation. And again, that is the strength of these meetings that you're going to be having through the months of January and February, are conversations like that. Another hand of a scribe, please.
Sorry, so you must have be looking at me alphabetically. Last name is Zook. I get down in the bottom corner a lot. We mostly talked about identifying projects that are done by the clubs better with the Rotary name, the Rotary logo. There's often, we do things in the clubs because we want to do them. We do work in our communities because it's needed, because it's important, and we don't always think about making sure that the credit is given. And I shared a story about, so I'm in District 5010 now. I used to be in District 5020. The club that I was in was on the Olympic Peninsula, and we ran a big parade every year, the big parade. It took hours and hundreds of people, and we really, nobody knew that we did it. We did all the work, and we didn't really find a way to take, not credit, but to show that this community event is brought to you by Rotarians. And I think that happens a lot. Rotary does a lot of great things, and so whether it's wearing a Rotary vest or having a banner or a sign. I think it's important that we make it clear that when we're doing something, that we're doing it as a group of Rotarians, rather than just people who are doing community service sake.
Thank you, Kim. All right. I think, do I have two left? I know I have Jane that needs to speak. Who else am I? Jane, why don't you go ahead? We'll let you, you were in the group I was in. Go on ahead.
Okay, sure. Yeah, we shared some very, I think, general sorts of things in our group. I shared that I don't think in our small town of Florence, Oregon, that we actually associate the Rotary logo with every single thing that we could. So we need to spread that around a little. And a gentleman who lives on a small island off of British Columbia, are you Robert or Bob? Anyway, he shared that because their island varies from 3,000 to 6,000 people, depending on the time of year, they ran into one thing that turned out to be kind of a publicity bonanza. That's my word. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police had trouble finding specific homes on the island when they were responding to calls. So the Rotary Club took over and made signs for everybody, and each sign had the Rotary logo on it. I thought that was brilliant. They also have a defibrillator project with the hospital where every single defibrillator has the Rotary logo on it. So whenever they're used, there's the Rotary logo. Anyway, I got lost a little, Bob, on the birdhouse project, but did that have to do with the signs? Anyway, I just thought these were clever things. Mark, who is from Juneau, has a problem where they have 4 clubs in their town of 30,000 people, and that there may be a bit of confusion among the people in the town as to which Rotary Club, that kind of thing. And I guess my immediate thought when you were talking about that, Mark, was along the lines that some other people have shared. You know, you guys need to go together, you know, and make a big splash there. Because I think lately, I don't know if you guys have noticed, Bill Gates has been giving Rotary a lot more upfront credit for the polio program. And so I think just mentioning all the time that it's Rotary is good. And our person from Campbell River, Colleen, feels like they do a good job. They make the wheel part of everything. I think that's the key in tourism and the newspaper. And so anyway, I think that's kind of where we were in our discussion.
Thank you. I think we have one more. Did I get through them all, or do we have one more?
Sorry, I would have jumped up much earlier. Okay, so one of the things that I think it was Terry that mentioned, one of the things that they do is actually they put out a newspaper article with their group in Kamloops. Is that correct? Yep, in Kamloops, and they share information about what it is that their group is doing. They run barbecues. They have I think they host Ribfest with theirs as well. And if you want to know about Ribfest, definitely get in touch with Terry because it is a fairly substantial fundraiser. And one of the other things is maybe pick a specific focus if you're multiple groups. So if one is focused on youth and youth programs, really promote that. Let's see. I think we talked a little bit about, so I guess, some of the challenges that that are being faced with regard to, well, how do we go about doing that? And of course, the newspaper articles, I think, is absolutely fabulous. And going on the radio and talking about what it is that your group is doing specifically on the radio. Either here we have multiple radio stations in Prince George. One particularly is a local radio station that you can go on to these places and really highlight the work that you're doing as an organization. Yeah, I think very exciting stuff. So thank you to, so is Nancy, Terry, Angie, Melody, and is it Jan or Yan? Jan, okay.
Thanks, everyone. We want to put another tool in your toolbox, because we've talked about how important brand is on the individual level so that you and every member of your club can be out there promoting your club and Rotary's brand. So we must ask ourselves, if we were to walk up to somebody and say, what is Rotary? Do you know about our Rotary Club? How would they answer? Well, they might not be able to. So what you need, and we talked about this, that second tool, is you need to be able to talk about your brand. And you do that by telling a story. And I'm going to tell you guys one right now, and I'm actually going to read it to you. So you're going to hear me reading, but I want you to put yourself in a place right now that you're at your meeting and your president walks up and says, you know what, I want to tell you guys a story. I want to tell you a Rotary story. And here it is. I was asked to join a group of Rotarians from my district on a trip to Delhi, India, to administer doses of the polio vaccine to the children there. I had supported Polio Plus financially in the past, but I'd never gone on an NID or National Immunization Day. We were in a poor neighborhood going door to door, administering doses of the oral vaccine to all the children in every house. As we made our way from house to house, I could see how polio so easily spread as I gazed at the sewage running openly in the gutters of the street. At one house, a shy child peeked out from behind his mother's colorful sari. She pushed him towards me, and I tilted my head back and opened my mouth, indicating that he should do the same. After I administered the dose, I painted his pinky finger purple, indicating that he had been vaccinated. As I did, his mother said something to me in a language I didn't understand. As we walked to the next house, I asked our Indian host what that mother had said. "Thank you for saving the life of my child," he replied. There was a tear in my eye as I knocked at the next door. I knew then the good I could do as a Rotarian. Stories. It's what people remember, not what you, it's how you made them feel versus what you said. And what made this story compelling? It was alive, it was engaging, it was personal. She told you who was involved. It was descriptive. She gave you details, really important details. It was direct. It was emotional. And also it was empowering, knowing that as a Rotarian, this was something that you could be a part of. Now, remember, it doesn't have to be a big story. My Rotary story has to do with RILA. It was a RILA, something that happened at RILA. So no one story is the right one for your club, but you each individually have your own story. That one thing that when you tell it, it re-engages you with Rotary. It gives you that emotion. But remember, that's our brand. That is Rotary. That is our story. It's a simple yet important one. You know, maybe for you, maybe it was a project in your community. Maybe it was when you hosted a student for youth exchange. Our brand is not our logo. We want our logo to be consistent. Our brand is our story. Now, think about the people you might tell your story to, because there are different audiences. There's the public, there's our club members, and then there's potential Rotarians. And you might want to think, you might want to ask yourself, what might I use for each of these conversations? And here is, as far as I'm concerned right now, and you guys have mentioned this, one of the most important audiences to talk to, and this is your own people. It is critical that you spend time with the Rotarians in your club and re-engage them. Our members are our greatest asset, and it's just as important to retain a member as it is to bring a new one. It is so discouraging when that back door is open. Now, here is what I have encouraged as an AG. Here's what I encouraged each of my presidents to do as they were getting ready. I said, you know what, throughout your year, go up to a different member of your club and say, hey, would you take a couple minutes? Would you stand up today and tell me your Rotary story? Tell me what is so important to you. Tell me what it is that makes Rotary for you. And you will absolutely love this, because they're going to stand up and they're going to tell you something that was so important to them in Rotary, their Rotary moment, their story. It's going to be just as important to them, though. It's going to reignite that flame. It's going to re-engage them. So please remember, when you tell, just like that president did, when you tell your story, you're going to encourage others to do the same and remember why they're Rotarians. Now, you're also going to be talking to your community. And somebody mentioned not only, you know, when it comes to public image, don't be thinking all the time about what a reporter can do for you. Think about what you can do for your club. Could you speak at a chamber meeting? What about other service organizations? Could you go talk to them? What about a nonprofit? Could you stand up there and tell them a little bit about what you've done over the year? If you are right now working with a partner on a project, have you stood next to them and talked a little bit about Rotary or shared a Rotary story with them? Perhaps that will solidify that partnership. Perhaps that will get you a new partnership. Think about all of the ways that you could bring people together in your community. The more people we get together, the better, you know, the more things that we can do. And again, of course, public image. Are you, you know, do you know somebody from the media? And I just love that real genuine conversation earlier about really having that important partnership with somebody in the media, but a real honest one. I really appreciated that comment. And then finally, that potential member, you know, you always talk about bringing more people in, and that we absolutely need to do that. We want them to understand the great things about Rotary. So what will you tell them? You know, use a meeting, use one of your Rotary meetings and say, you know what, folks, we're going to sit down today and we're all going to put down our Rotary stories. And then we're all going to talk about what conversation might we have if we saw a potential member. Literally sit down and do that. Share amongst yourselves what you might say about your club the next time somebody is out at a sporting event and they're standing and talking to someone and they see a Rotary symbol and you say, hey, have you heard what we did recently in this area? And know in advance what you might say. We're going to just shift gears slightly, but not completely, because I'm going to talk with you now about people of action, because this really plays into public image and it really tells a story, because what you're looking at right now are overlays and they're your pictures behind them. And this is in the brand center. So I want you to think about whenever you see the titles that are going to flash up with each of these slides, I want you to think about your club's photos behind them. And it's that easy. You take the picture, you put it on you upload it into the area, it copy and you save it and you copy and paste it all. You have a really great tool here. But again, think, these are your people standing behind this overlay right now. And we had somebody mention earlier the importance of polio. And if each and every one of you looked at this picture the same way I did, brand popped up because you started thinking about polio and what we have done, what Rotary has done. So here is an excellent example of brand because it created a feeling about what our organization does. Again, your club members are behind each and every one of these overlays in what you do. This is a free for you and your public image group. Again, going to Brand Center, you're going to click on People of Action, and that is where all these overlays are available to you, plus more. There's other stuff in there too. I was just in there the other day. Also, you're going to find there are some new videos called We Are Rotary. And these videos, very professionally done, very succinct, to the point, emotional. It is what people will feel. They can go on your webpage. They can go on your social channels. Copy them. Use them. They are free to you. You don't need to be doing any of this. You don't need to be spending money on each of this when it comes to generally talking about Rotary and what Rotary does. So again, you're going to be going into Brand Center so that you can see these. And I am going to, and I saw somebody had their hand up, and I promise we will have plenty of time here at the end to talk about some things and answer questions. But I am going to, for the sake of time, I'm just going to read some of the summary comments because I promised everybody that we would end on time, and that's important because I know your time is very valuable. So here, just let me summarize some things here. I want all of you to know that our Rotary logo should be used uniformly across Rotary by all the clubs, districts, and branches of the organization. We want to create that logo that everyone recognizes no matter what we're doing. A strong Rotary brand will help attract new members and support our foundation. Now remember, the brand is our story. We've got logo and we've got brand. So a strong Rotary brand, and that's each and every one of you. So begin to craft your story, both for your, your future members, your current members, as well as your community. Sit down, maybe use a meeting to do that. How do you tell your story and how do you create those new relationships? Now, remember how important though that your current members are, and strive to reignite their engagement. Ask them to share their Rotary moment or Rotary story. I think you will all enjoy it. I know we did it when we did it in our club. It was wonderful. Now, you don't need an expert, but you do need a public image chair or someone that's going to be the point for you. Be sure that they have your support and take this information to them. Because by electing you as president, your club has empowered you to make the changes to strengthen your club. So you must ask yourself, what will you do starting day one to fulfill that expectation? So I'm going to read you this final slide. Together we see a world where people unite and take action to create lasting change across the globe, in our communities, and in ourselves. We are neighbors, friends, and problem solvers. We are people of action. And that is the end of our PowerPoint presentation. And before I go and answer any questions or check for that raised hand, I want you all to know, and I mentioned this at the beginning, that Northwest Pets has the people that will help you. And I am one of them. I have this PowerPoint. It's mine. And if you call me and say, Brenda, we are hybrid, you could zoom in and just kind of give succinctly some of the things that you talked about. Or we want to do a fireside some evening outside of our club meeting, and we want you to do this with us. We want, we want you to do the survey. We want you to do the breakout room, however you want to. This tool is available to you. So please take advantage of it. And again, and what I'm going to do right now, before I start answering questions, is I'm going to put my email in the chat. And then you guys can just email me and say, Brenda, gosh, it would be kind of cool. Just, you only got 20 minutes or, give you a little longer, but we'd sure love for you to come talk to us about this, okay? And having said that, we are at the end of our presentation. You are welcome to go or stay and ask questions or chat.
I do have a, Brenda, this is Tammy. I do have a question.
Yes.
And you may have said this and I wasn't quite sure if I caught that. So with those people of action, those photos, did you state that we can take our own photos and like inspire and people of change, all of that will remain, and that it's in Rotary.org under your, under the brand, all that templates? Is that what you said, that we don't have to use those photos that are there? We can use our own photos if we have photos. Is that correct?
Correct. Absolutely. So
and
you're
there's
going
instructions on how to do that, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And I would just tell you, Tammy, the last presentation I did, from the end of my presentation to about a minute later, a gentleman said, hey, Brenda, I just did that with a template. That was too easy. So basically, you're going to go into My Rotary, you're going to hover over News and Media, and Brand Center is going to open. You will have to log in, and then you just click on that tab, People of Action. It'll ask you to choose a photo, just like if you've done any other projects where you choose a photo. You choose a photo, it sticks it underneath, and it says, is that okay? And you just hit save. And then it'll ask you, how do you want to save it? And then your computer will tell you, guide you through it. How do you want to save it? Where do you want to save it? And then it's yours forever, for eternity. It's yours.
You didn't mention a lot about website. And one of the things we did was use the Bellevue, Washington developed website and DACDB instead of Club Runner. One of the advantages during the pandemic was somebody said we could sell some things. And what we did, we found somebody who would supply a fresh caught frozen fish, and we were able to sell it. People came to me and said, could we set up a shop? And we set it up as a subdomain, very Rotary. The whole thing was very Rotary, logo and all of that. And we've had a lot of advantage having real control over our website and using it for what we do in the community. I just thought I'd mention that.
Brenda, I had a quick question, and my group talked a little bit about it in our breakout room. I totally get the Rotary logo, brand, connect to like that logo, but is there anything that they have in terms of suggestions or best practices for those of us who are coming in presidential roles around what we should be doing in social media? How should we be talking about our role? I was just noticing some like super big variations between how people talk about their Rotary role on LinkedIn, for example, within my large professional network. During your presentation, I just shared a Rotary International post because I was kind of looking around trying to see it. But is there any best practice of like, how should we be talking about our role as president? Is there something that, are there any like templates that we should be, pushing out or posting about I don't know, I'm just trying to think about how do we amplify what we're doing, because from what I've heard from everybody else, our job over the next year is more than just being a volunteer. This is like basically a semi-new job, is what I've been being told. So just didn't know if there's anything on how we should be expressing ourselves via social media that we should be looking at.
If you go on to RI, you will find information on the role of a president. And when you're there, you're going to actually, it's like when I'm running RILA, I go to RI and I look for all of that black and white information, succinct information on RILA that I'm going to put out there, because I'm not going to make stuff up. I'm gonna see what RI. So I would encourage you, first of all, and this is kind of a not great answer, but I would ask you to go look at your president's manual that you get from RI. Read through that, because there is basically your job description right there, and you would be able to put that out. Now, as for specific templates, obviously no, there's nothing individualized like that, and that's okay, because it is very individualized anyway. Clubs are individuals, presidents are individuals, but start with your president's manual, read through that and see what kind of information you find.